Please welcome Devin to the stage.
Thank you. Please forgive the tissue and my voice. I'm not sad or upset. I'm very sick, so. I'm treating all of you like you were my home. This is my living room, and I'm probably going to throw this on the floor while I talk, so this is not my story at all. Okay, hi. It's great to be here. So let me just get myself together here. Sorry. The first thing I noticed when I moved home to my mother's house in central Vermont several years ago was that there were tenants on her property that had not been there before. The second thing I noticed was that they were loud, messy, and without their knowledge, they were nearing the end of their lives. My mother was not, I'm sorry, she's sitting right there. She was not running a senior center. She and her husband, Tom, were in fact raising turkeys on the corner of their vegetable garden. Now, being born and raised in Boston, there's a lot about country life that I am unfamiliar with. So naturally, when I arrived, I assumed that these turkeys were pets. As it turns out, my mom and her husband were raising these turkeys so that they could kill them in a few months and eat them for dinner. They actually spent money to buy these turkeys. They even spent more money to build a turkey home and give them food and water every day, just so that after a few months later, they could chop off their heads and have them for dinner. I don't know about you, but after seeing these turkeys and their gangly chins waddling around in their own poo, maybe that much more grateful that I can go to a grocery store, hand over a wad of cash, and receive in return this beautifully raised and slaughtered turkey that I can stick in the oven with great ease. Anyway, my mom and Tom had other plans. Their idea was that they were going to give these turkeys a very nice life on their yard in the corner of their vegetable garden. And at the end of it, they were going to chop their heads off and have them for Thanksgiving. Now, there's a lot about raising turkeys that I think most of you wouldn't expect. One day, my mom and I were having a conversation in the yard, and she suddenly had to interrupt and dash across the yard and break up a turkey brawl. She came back, and all she did was sigh. She said, as turkeys age, they fight more and more. And I was like, really? What is it about aging that makes turkeys aggressive and violent? We've all met a cranky old person before, right? But one that wantonly attacks its friends and family? I've never heard of it, right? My mom didn't know either. She said, we're gonna have to kill them soon. And 2 weeks later, that's exactly what we did. So I have to admit, on the day of the slaughter, I was kind of excited, right? I'd never experienced this before, this is kind of neat and different. But my mom, not amused. Just so you know, if you're gonna be energetic and excited, you're probably gonna annoy Tom, so you might wanna stay away, right? This is what my mom says to me, and I'm like, whatever, so I march right outside. I want to know exactly what Tom's doing. So I go out and I see him filling these buckets with water. And I say, Tom, what's that for? And he's like, it's for the turkeys. And I said, you kill them by drowning them? And he's like, no, it's to lower their body temperature. And I was like, what do? Pour it over them? That's weird, And he said, no, you stick them in it. And I was like, well, they're still alive? Don't get it at all, And Tom, ever the patient man, looks at me and says, no, Devin, you wait until they're dead. And I was like, right, how do you get a live turkey into a bucket anyway? So there are several reasons why my mom hated this whole thing, right? The first is, she's a very clean person, aggressively clean, right? Everything in her house is white, the sheets are white, her clothes are white, the walls are, everything is white. And we were conducting this slaughter on the clothesline where she hangs her beautifully white sheets to like air dry in the beautiful, pristine Vermont air, right? The second thing is, like, my mom can't handle anything violent, right? So, like, she can't even listen to a violent commercial. So, like, a real live killing on her lawn, like, this is literally breaking every rule in her book. But then there was the more superficial issue of, like, how I conducted myself. You know, like, my enthusiasm and inquisitiveness, like, in this case, were not cute or impressive. They were annoying. So I spent the afternoon pestering Tom, and she spent it hiding in the garage. And here's kind of how it went. Poor Tom. So, Tom, what do you do with all the blood and guts and stuff after you've killed a turkey? I was like, do you let it, like, seep into the lawn and fertilize it? And he was like, no. Then the animals would come and dig it up. And I was like, oh, yeah. Plus, like, what do you do about all the vegetarians, you know? And he looked at me like, what? And I was like, you know, then the vegetables wouldn't be vegetarian. Like, duh. Get it together, man, right? So to this point that I'm starting to question, like, you know, are they really prepared for this slaughter? Well, it turns out they weren't, right? They'd never done it before. And they had called in reinforcements to help. And their reinforcements came in the form of Miles Hooper, who was this 19-year-old butcher in the neighborhood, right? And so as he's like, you know, stalking the turkeys in their pen, and he's binding, what you do is turn them upside down, and they pacify immediately, and he's binding up their ankles and then like laying them on the ground like they're already dead, which, by the way, is super weird. Anyway, I'm watching him do this, and he admits something to me. He's like, you know, I've never killed a turkey before. I was like, well, great, you're the expert. Like, this is gonna go really well, you know? He's like, but I've killed a lot of chickens, you know, lots of chickens. And I started to think about the chickens, right? Because mom's got these chickens, and they live in, like, they've got this outdoor pen, which is like, I don't know, like a few yards from, like, you know, the turkey slaughter guillotine, like formerly known as our clothesline. And, like, they're in plain view. It's literally like you guys to me in the theater looking at these, you know, turkeys being killed right in front of their kin. Like, their people are being killed. And I'm like, you know, I asked my mom, I'm like, what are are they going to be traumatized? Like, oh, shit, are we next? Like, what's going to happen, right? Well, as it turned out, the only trauma that occurred was in me, because despite my excitement, I watched the slaughter from my bedroom window, which, mind you, is like, I don't know, 15 yards away on the second floor, like behind the screen, with my hands literally clasped over my eyes. Like, I could barely watch. So despite all of my bravery and claims that I was going to be the epic journalist reporting on my, like, you know, country home experience, I literally barely watched the entire thing. But this is what I did see. I saw the turkey hanging from the clothesline, which, by the way, like, that image doesn't go away. You know, the sheets are forever a turkey, like, flapping in the wings. And I did see the wings, you know, flapping, and Tom standing there, and Miles is kind of bending over, you know, and you see his arm go back and forth, and you see red. Lots and lots of red from very far away. Kind of like watching a movie. And I worried, like, you know, after seeing that, like, would I be able to eat the turkey meat, you know? And the truth is, after seeing the whole thing, the turkey looked more like a turkey when it was dead and plucked than when it was alive. That said, I ate purely vegetarian that day. Not gonna lie, that is the truth. However, on Thanksgiving, I did eat this dear turkey's meat. And true to form, I bragged to all of my friends that at my house, my turkey was allowed to run around and beat up its friends before we chopped its head off and ate it for dinner. Thank you.